Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matt Fortier with Keller Williams Realty. Thank you again for joining me today. Today, we've got a great topic, a really important topic. I know because as I've talked to a lot of you folks out there, whether you've directly said it or you've just conveyed through your uncertainty that, there's this concern that we might be in a bubble in this real estate market. And I totally understand why you feel that way because I mean for the last 2 years we've had 20% price growth year over year. So and we've got this crazy competition. You got people waiving appraisals and all of that stuff. And some of us that went through, or a lot of us that went through 2008 2009, you know can see similarities, and we get concerned because 2008 2009 was kind of crazy. I get it. Though what we got to look at here is we've got like 3 or 4 reasons. I'm going to go with the top 3 reasons plus one on why this isn't a bubble. And now, full disclosure, hey, markets change, markets move. We could slow down. I get it. Though what I intend to convey in this today and explain to you today is that the fundamentals behind this marketplace, while crazy, you could say, it is still fit in the within the fundamentals of economics. And number one reason, and probably 75 to 90% of why the market is so crazy, it's inventory. Now, this image was shared by a friend of mine on the East Coast who's a real estate agent in North Carolina, and this came from some sort of conference, and it sparked my interest because I saw that, and I've talked about inventory on several of the other market updates that we've done in the past, and so this wasn't a shocker, though. Seeing the actual number was kind of a mind blower. And so you look at that in the 2010 to 19 decade, 5.8 million homes built compared to, I don't know what that averages out to, uh, 22 or 23 million per decade over the last 60 years. And that alone is eye-opening. That should give you an idea of, wait a minute, we are substantially behind. Now, one of the things I want to do to further illustrate that is compared to the population. So right here, this is the housing starts kind of on a more annual basis, just to kind of give you the idea of how it ebbs and flows. But really, if you look at that 2010 decade, that average line is much lower. It's substantial. But let's juxtapose this against population. And we've had anywhere between 1.3 and down to, like, I think the last several years has been about 0.9% population growth over the years. And so let's put those together because it's a ratio. I mean, it's the number of people to the number of homes, and let's take a look at that. So I did some math. Now, this isn't statistics, so this has not been run through all the academic rigmarole. This is just me going through and looking to gain some insight. So we took since I had the ability to get population back to 1950 using one of these sources, just for ease of illustration. We broke it down to the number of homes built in that decade, took the average population for that decade, and then just did a basic ratio of the homes built to the average population. And as what you can see, I mean, 1950s, that makes sense. That was the post-war boom, lots of new homes being built. And then if you go through, even if you look through those 60 years, the average is about 11%. So even if we conservatively estimate that we were to stay on the 9% ratio as we were in the first decade of the new millennium, that's 20 million, actually a little bit more than 20 million homes in a gap. Now, if we go up to the average of 11%, that's 26 million. So somewhere in that range, We have 20 to 26 million homes less than what we should have based on our population. That's substantial. And again, market forces, interest rates, things happening in the globe, those are going to impact the overall market. Though, from the very fundamental of supply and demand, this is what we're dealing with. So the other part of that is, and let's go back to let's go to the demand side now. One of the things we need to look at is, the millennial generation are coming of age and coming of home buying age. So if you're in your mid 30s, even 40s, I mean that's when the majority of people start to purchase their homes at this point in time. And so we've got about 70, I think the number was 72 million uh, millennials coming of age, and so there is a substantial amount of demand for housing that is going to be required. Now, one thing also too is we got to look at this from the standpoint is whether you're buying or renting, the physical house is necessary, right? So even if people decide to rent, that is going to have an impact because their people need to live in something. And multiple, multi-housing projects, apartment projects, stuff like that, that is becoming more common, or they're doing what they can to expand those in areas. I've talked about in the past too with that is those numbers are still behind too. Again, it all comes down to the supply, and we still have a substantial amount of demand just based on population growth alone. So then the third reason, now that was the second reason, talking about the demand side. The third reason, and I'll get into a fourth, um, it's our equity. We have on average, more equity in our homes today than we did in 2008, 2009. And I highlighted those two numbers here. And this is the overall equity in trillions. Uh, but you can see is, in 2009, that number was substantially lower. And what was happening was, and this is why part four, or reason number four, that I don't want to get into too much detail, but is related to this, is the lending standards were much lower then. I mean, you could get all you needed was basically a pulse, and make up a story that you made $10,000 a month as a dishwasher or whatever. And so the fundamentals of the lending is different, and so a lot of people were obviously taking out equity and buying toys or doing whatever it was. And when the market decided to do some to shift up a little bit, a lot of people were underwater, and they were not physically able to purchase or to pay for those homes because, they didn't make $10,000 a month. A minimum wage is not that. So, anyways, so has a just even just looking, so that equity, there's a lot more buffer in the system. So even if we do see a shift uh, in the market and things start to slow down, we're not going to see that level of offloading happening because people are underwater or people are unable to pay for it. Now, again, global economics and stuff like that set aside. I mean, we did just get through pandemic and all of that craziness, and we seem to weather that storm. Now, yeah, can't say that I have a complete crystal ball on what happens, because if there's a economic major economic collapse as a result of something, hey, all bets are off at that point. But that's life. Though looking at it right now, and in what we're dealing with, we have a crazy market, yes, but it is still based in the fundamentals of economics. And again, going back to that one right there, 20 to 26 million homes we are behind. So that is the major reason why we are seeing such a crazy competitive marketplace out there in the real estate market. And I get it. It's crazy. And whether you are buying your first home or you're making a move, I know there's a lot of things happening that would cause you to freeze and sit. Now, the thing is though, we don't see this changing. I mean, we're not increasing the inventory at a substantial rate to bridge this gap. Interest rates are starting to go up, and interest rates are not crazy, though it does have an impact on affordability. So the more you wait, the harder it's going to become for you to realize that dream. So yeah, it might be scary. Yeah, it might be a little crazy. Though with the right guidance and the right person to help you through that, we can get you into the house. We can get you in a place where you are enjoying the joys of home ownership and building your wealth. So, if you have any questions, please give me a call, shoot me a text, reply to this email. I would be more than happy to sit down with you and let's look at that. Let's look at your situation and let's build you a plan to get you into a home or get you into your next home. Because right now, while it's a little crazy, it is still a good time to make it happen. And it would be my honor to help you. So thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day and a great week.